It is 12:16 officially. Put that. I call the meeting of the Northeast Independent School District Health Advisory Council to order. Let the record show that a quorum of SHAC members is present today. This meeting is in accordance with compliance with Section 28.004 of the Texas Education Code and applicable board policy. The council's meeting today will address only the topics on the agenda. No other topics will be discussed during the meeting. SHAC meetings are open to the public. Guests wishing to address the SHAC may do so by emailing the SHAC committee at shac@neisd.net. Any persons that causes disruption during the meeting will be asked to leave. Thank you for your cooperation.
Please remember, health-related issues can sometimes generate passionate discussions with very different viewpoints. Remain calm and respectful throughout the process. Listen carefully with an open mind to identify critical facts and statistics that should be considered in decision-making rather than over-relying on opinions and emotions. Keep any ISD students' health as your top priority to help discussions stay on track.
All right, the first item on the agenda is the instructional use of AI presentation. Ms. Maria Garcia Rios, the Assistant Director of Technology Services. Welcome.
Hi. Hello, everyone. Nice to meet you. And I believe our presentation and information is on the slide deck there. I really wanted today to simply be an opportunity for dialogue. I don't have a lot of information on the presentation aside from what we aim as far as 6 pillars. So I'll give you a chance to glance over that. But one thing I want to reiterate when you look at what we aim for as a district is these 6 pillars were not created in isolation, and that is something that our department is extremely proud of. When you look at balance, human connection, intention, reflection, transparency, and best practices, every single one of those key pillars was incorporated, and we received feedback from teachers, deans, principals, students. We took a lot of feedback through think tanks, pilots. We had 160 parent responses at a parent campus, and so a pilot campus. And so we took all of their feedback and consistently asked opportunities for clarity to see if this is what we were aiming for. So I'll give you a chance to read through those. And as with anything involving change management, you also know that once you put something into place, you're consistently looking and reiterating what those expectations are. Once opportunities are put into motion, we have conversations and we listen to folks on campuses based on realities to anchor back to what we're aiming for. And so our district has been very strategic in terms of not going Wild West and opening all forms of AI. We tried to go really slow to make sure that we were incorporating the voices and also being very good stewards of digital privacy, which is another big thing that districts are tackling across the state and the nation. So the next slide is giving credit to, do me a favor, do you mind refreshing? Thank you. I just want to give a shout out to our instructional technology team. When I talk about the voices, these folks also sit next to the principals. They sit next to campus point of contacts. And so they've had targeted conversations around what those pillars are, what they're seeing on campuses. They also offer targeted and very strategic support in terms of training based on those realities. So I just wanted to give them a nod because this is not done in isolation. It really was a collaborative effort for various stakeholders. What you'll see here is one thing that we've provided is an NEISD AI playbook for teachers. It's a simple document that you can click on in just a little bit if you'd like to see snapshots. We've also provided a playbook for administrators to use that has use cases, it defines things, key vocabulary, and also just keeps important things on the radar of what campuses need to incorporate in terms of AI usage. I believe there's one more slide if you don't mind refreshing. You should see it there, or maybe it didn't refresh. So again, here are key examples of how we took into consideration. The playbook also includes interviews from students. It includes interviews from teachers who tried things, and so you'll hear opportunities that the students really incorporated as far as transparency. Each teacher is on their own journey, and so our playbooks are mapped into different levels. There's level 1, there's level 2, and there's a level 3 to meet teachers where they are on their AI learning journey. And it really focuses on what's the instructional goal of AI. You're not just using AI for the sake of AI. What are you truly aiming for? I'll give you a chance to glance at those. And also, again, the presentation today is really listening to you all and opening up dialogue and giving you some possible answers to some questions that are on top of your mind.
Does that mean you're ready for questions?
I am ready for questions, yes.
Okay. So I'm super glad you're here. I am Anna Ramsey, and I have a kiddo in 5th and in 9th, so I'm kind of seeing different spaces.
Right.
The one thing, and this could be just generally to my family, but I am not a high-tech person, and my kiddo can only translate so much. So if there's things on Google Classroom or the syllabus, I'm not easily understanding where to go to help him know yes or no, or what's because it sounds like it's very teacher specific what
Right.
they can and cannot do with AI, and I'm speaking more at the high school level. But it's not an easy find for me.
The playbooks, you mean? Or in general, or just resources?
Like what the teacher
Okay.
allows.
Got it. Yes, and that is something that we put into the playbook as well, just for your knowledge. It also provides guidance for what we found when we did a pilot round on campuses is parents wanted to know how AI was being used. And not all AI is the same. Sometimes it is just the simplicity of providing feedback. They're not doing a lot of generative AI work out there. So one thing that was listed in the playbook as a reference for teachers to use is really being transparent for how are you using it. Here are templates to share out, because I too am a parent. I want to know what's happening in the classroom. So we shared templates for teachers to use that would potentially provide details on AI usage and what it clearly looks like in terms of pictures, projects, what is the goal. But to answer your question a little bit more directly, maybe I need some more specifics. Are you talking about what sites are available?
No, it's just generally like, at the beginning of the year, everybody tends to do really well about, here's my classroom policies.
Yes.
But there's no box that I have found
Got it.
coming to in my direction of, here's my AI policies.
Got it.
And then some projects have kind of come up, or some bigger tasks. And I've told my kid, I've prompted him, like, go ask the teacher. But then I think there's a space where he's like, well, then they're going to think I'm trying to take the easy way out. It just feels
Right.
like a weird ask. Like, it's like, oh, you want to use AI versus I'm just trying to clarify what space is
I hear you.
available, what space is not available. And so I kind of feel like, and maybe we're just on that edge of we're all learning together.
Right.
But I'm not seeing the information readily available.
I definitely see that as an opportunity, the opportunity that we can continue to provide more clear directives as far as if you are using it, how is it being used in your classroom, and is this clearly being articulated to parents so they understand? So I can see that definitely as an opportunity. Thank you for sharing that.
Just another one, sorry. So then my 5th grader came home with some projects they've done at school independently, and I've noticed on the back there's like a sheet that will almost, it's like they are scanning. Are they scanning their work? It looks like they're kind of, and I know I could ask the teacher this, but I find it interesting. I don't know if that's part of the playbook, that if they're doing projects at school, is there something that they're scanning their work through?
Ooh, that's a tough.
Is that a teacher question?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I could definitely provide an answer, but I might be butchering the actual reality of how that assignment was delivered.
I think kind of piggybacking on that is middle school 8th grader came home and was like, my teacher said it's cool if we just ChatGPT this.
And I was like, guaranteed, they did not. But maybe they did. I
Right.
don't, because I was trying to have this conversation about, no, you have to go research it. And I'm like, where would they go research it, in a book? No,
Right.
they're not. So maybe, and I teach at the collegiate level, so it's totally different. But we have to, if they're gonna use ChatGPT for anything, there are sites that ChatGPT will bring up, and so then they have to cite the site, right, that they went to. There's proper ways to do that, so maybe that's part of it, is, again, kind of creating this in the syllabus or at the beginning of the year for parents to understand, like, this is the kind of information that they're going to use, or this is how they're gonna utilize it, this is what to expect, and then for research purposes or whatnot, no, that's not gonna work, or yes, that's, so maybe it's just clear.
I think that's a
whether
great
it's
idea.
A school level, so like high school, I don't know if they would have the same rules, I guess not, for teacher. But for sure, like at elementary school, they probably could say, this is how typically we're gonna use it, here's what to expect. Might just be clear, because I think at our level, unless it's your field, we don't really know
Right.
what's allowed and what's not. So when my kid says I can ChatGPT this essay, I'm like, sounds like a lie, but I don't know anymore.
Right, right.
I don't really know.
Yes, and one thing that came to mind as you were talking was a common misconception that we found when we started running pilots on campuses is that teachers would, especially at the secondary level, obviously the AI usage is concerns and questions are looming a little bit heavier on the secondary side than the elementary side. And the reason why is because those students have devices of their own. So one common misconception that is clearly articulated in our playbook is the clarifier of sometimes you see students on devices and they're using other AI sites. So I want to be very clear in saying not all sites are open for student use in any ISD. There's maybe like a handful of 7. So we can post that for transparency purposes. And another thing for your radar, we recently had an AI parent webinar, and one thing that I spoke about to empower you all as well in this digital age was the importance of digital privacy agreements. And so because of us needing to collect digital privacy agreements, we only allow certain sites for students to use, and they're very minimal in scope in terms of maybe it's providing a simple feedback for a writing essay. There's nothing, we try very hard to vet sites to ensure that students are safe. And so when I hear things about ChatGPT, I also take that as a learning opportunity for us to reiterate if we're sending students in a direction to use a site, us as educators, and that's not just unique to Northeast, that's all around, it's happening globally, is ensuring that when sites are sent out for usage, to make sure that students can even use that site. Because for instance, ChatGPT, and that's also included in our playbook as a clarifier, is we don't have a digital privacy agreement with ChatGPT, so students should not be using that website. And so there are a lot of sites that even our own kids, as I have conversations with my own personal children, I tell them, do not go to a site that you don't have an agreement with. Don't click, because you just don't know what data they're collecting. And so again, that is not unique to any ISD. That is a national topic that all districts are continuing to get better in to keep our students safe.
Is there something in the playbook, because we all know that things are constantly changing, ingredients on it, you might
Right.
have bought something and then it was these ingredients, and the next time you buy it, you're like, wait a second, I never saw this before.
Right.
And again, with all the social media stuff in different areas, so is there something in the playbook that says that a committee or a group of people are going to review these, like the rules, all of their all of the site's requests?
Like
what
the actual data usage?
Yeah, the data
Yes,
usage.
yes.
and
So
the
teachers,
privacy, and if there's
Mhm.
pictures, then, I don't know, there's something on Facebook recently now, I guess, like they can use any of the pictures you post. I don't know.
got it.
I haven't researched
Yes.
it all, but is there going to be a annual or semi-annual review of, okay, because you might have vetted, Johnson's website.
Right.
Right? But who's to go and say that 6 months from now, that website's gonna keep to that? Because they're not necessarily gonna be the same owners, the same company, or anything.
Yes, current districts and a lot of districts, again, not just unique to Northeast. Current standards now, districts are being encouraged more and more to check DPAs consistently. There's expiration dates on them, and that's just not, even if you're not in the educational space, in the corporate world, that happens as well. They're looking at DPAs, they're checking to see when they're expired to ensure that data that they are collecting, be it pictures, be it names, those are clearly articulated to ensure that we're being transparent with that.
Got a question on, I guess with the whole Chat GPT and all that, I can't tell what is AI and what's not. And so how can we ensure that our kids, if they're using AI,
Right.
are actually getting information that has not already been manipulated,
Right.
And now all of a sudden they think that it's gospel because they went and, well, they did the research and this is what I came up with on Google or using AI. Or so how can we ensure that that doesn't get, that information isn't misinformation or get misused?
You've touched and highlighted on a topic that, again, is not just unique to Northeast. It is a national need that we, as educators and as parents and as, just citizens and human beings, we're dealing with the reality of teaching students and teaching, honestly, our colleagues and every single person that's sitting next to us how to check sources. And so that is one very simple solution that I've heard in various spaces of upskilling students, upskilling teachers, upskilling those that are sitting to the left and to the right of us to be able to check if you receive a video. They're so beautifully crafted now that it is hard to determine sometimes when it's real and when it's fake. So anything that you're receiving as a source, that is a skill that we're noticing we do have to address in terms of, you receive this information, but how did you check the sources? Where did it come from to ensure that it's actually real?
Hi, oh. Go ahead.
Oh, I had one of the, so, you're in education, the higher. So how are you checking to make sure that I wrote my paper? And are we going to have that in place, or project or whatever, right? So are we gonna have that in place for our lower grade students that we're introducing this, and so we know that they're not coming up on random.
Yeah, it's not brand new, but there's apps that check the apps. So I can put in 4 to 5 words, just copy and paste them out of yours, and if it's written anywhere else in this world, it'll pop up through this app I use, anywhere. And it's basically about educating them on what plagiarism is. We got that education, right? But it's changed.
Because we
now.
copied it out of the
Because
encyclopedia.
we copied it, right?
Like, straight out of the encyclopedia.
We talk the same. But, yeah, I think that it's important that there's some accountability in terms of I can run it through particular systems. But,
So are we making more work for our teachers?
I don't know, because we were plagiarizing back then.
My friend was.
Thank you for being honest.
Yes, yes. Thank you for being transparent, yes.
I think they could have, there was no way to check it back then.
Right.
Really, and now there is. So yes, technically it's more work, but I think it just comes with the territory perhaps, I'm not sure.
I think it also provides an interesting opportunity to reflect on the type of assignments and experiences that we are providing to our students. And the reason why I bring that up is I've sat in various panels and I've sat in listening to think tanks and panels and I've just heard so many voices over the last year and a half. Again, that's what we've really prided ourselves in, really staying true to what's happening, is I've also heard the flip side to that, where a student shared that, and that doesn't just happen here, that's everywhere, where checkers aren't always accurate. And so as educators, we also have to be encouraged to stop and pause and reflect. And that's not unique to AI. That's all of our experiences in anything we do. We have to stop and pause and reflect on what type of experiences we're providing to students. So I've seen brilliant ways in which teachers are also looping in. Do you mind going back? Here I am being bossy. A couple of slides back to our pillars. And they hyper focus on the human connection component. And they don't just give an assignment. They stop and they pause and they highlight to the students, now go back to that paper that you just assigned. Explain it to this person that's sitting next to you. And oftentimes, when you do that, you can very clearly and quickly see if they copied, because you're going to hear a couple of ubba-da. And then sometimes the students will very quickly expand their brilliance on this paper or their assignment, and you can hear the passion shine through because they did it.
Speaking of the plagiarism check, I also work in the higher education space, and we've been doing plagiarism checks forever before the, the boom of AI. So for those teachers that are using that at the high school level, are they using Turnitin or some similar platform that checks for that anyway? Are they using any type of,
I believe that was one that was used, but to my knowledge, I don't believe they use that anymore. I know, there's a ton.
because it can also be a teachable moment for students.
Correct.
That once they even run through, the checker themselves, they can see. And it's not foolproof, but they can see for themselves what plagiarism is in real
Right.
time. And so that can be a teachable moment as well. Because when they get to higher ed, I don't know of any school that's not using some type of platform.
Correct.
Right, and so it allows them to start preparing for that and really understand in their writing what it is, right, what plagiarism is. Because sometimes it's unintentional because they just don't know. And then sometimes it's, they go to ChatGPT and they get the whole thing and download it, so.
Right.
I think there's also the lost art of the oral presentation piece of it, which I can utilize in a small
Absolutely.
class, but take what you just took off of ChatGPT and now tell me what you've learned, right, versus just copying and pasting it to a paper. So I think maybe education has to move a little bit more towards that, like the face-to-face interaction of teaching or hearing what somebody has learned from it.
Right.
Because there's value in this,
Right.
obviously, right? They have access to more than we had access to, but perhaps we change the narrative a little bit about what it means to turn in a paper or.
Right.
So I take it all of these papers that you're referring to, those are all digital so that you can then scan that into the different software as opposed to handwritten papers like I used to do back when I had a hammer and chisel and stone that we just.
Doesn't exist.
Okay.
Yes, you can now, there are even extensions that can be added within Google Docs now that will show, if I were to potentially copy and paste something, it shows live and in real time if something was truly copied, or if someone is typing it out, it will also show how, kind of like a highlight reel of typing to show the words that were pasted onto a document. Now, I want to be very transparent. There are also, just as quick as there are fact checkers, there are also alternative apps that are AI apps that are doing the complete workaround of that. And what do we know about history? All history repeats itself in many cases, and just like we talked about the example of copying and pasting from an encyclopedia, there's always a way to get around things. And so that's what we caution teachers with. Before you tell a student that they might be cheating, please stop, pause, encourage dialogue, ask clarifying questions, build in that human connection. And so really today, we wanted you all to see what we're aiming for. And so our current reality is continuing to anchor back to these pillars in our conversations, in our professional development, and in the experiences to ensure that we're hyper-focusing on what the teachers, the parents, the teachers, deans, various stakeholders gave us in terms of what we're aiming for. So as with any program, we're continuing to chisel away.
So I think part of our role is just supporting what the district is doing by talking to our neighbors and family and friends. And so what would y'all want us to tell people that we like learned at this meeting today, or what's helpful as we're having this narrative about AI?
The same way that we're having dialogue, continue that dialogue on your campus. Ask questions. You started us off with the fantastic question of how is it being used? And that's the easiest way to open up that conversation and say, how can we make what we're doing even better? How can it be transparent in the syllabus, in the beginning of year? We're, as educators and as anyone, we're always hoping to continue to improve the process versus making it worse. So my humble request going forward is to say, continue asking questions, continue asking so that we can continue to be better and go back to what we're aiming for.
When do you think that this is gonna be released? Like your handbooks?
Oh, we've been showing, since last year, I believe. We've been training admin, training teachers. Now, I have to give a shout out again to the instructional technology team. They have a closer heartbeat than I do. I am the assistant director, so I have the pleasure of working with the secondary specialist, but our instructional technology team, they sit right next to a principal. They ask, or a point of contact that's been delegated to that campus, and they ask questions. What are AI realities on your campus? How can I help support you? What kind of training do you need? What do you think? So they very much are the closer heartbeat and thought partner to providing some solutions on campuses. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it. And don't hesitate to reach out.
Great, thank you so much. All right, next on the agenda, the Juvenile Justice Jeopardy presentation. Dr. Ray, I'm pronouncing that correct?
Reve Schaefer. Yes.
Schaefer, okay. Villafranca?
Yes, sir.
Schaefer, thank you very much for coming and speaking to us.
Thank you for having me. I'm going to get connected here so that my co-presenter, Miss Wheeler, can also join us for the conversation.
Did you say Bueller?
Wheeler.
Wheeler, okay. I was about to say, come on now, there's a joke coming.
Okay, I'm going to do a quick check. Miss Wheeler, you can hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. Well, good. I am Reve Villafranca Schaefer. I serve as Executive Director for Secondary Curriculum and Instruction here in Northeast, and wanted to bring you some news and information and share about a potential community partnership that we can bring to Northeast ISD. And I want to share with you where we are and then where we hope to be moving forward. So thank you for including us. Ms. Kristen Wheeler is the Director of Juvenile Justice Jeopardy at the Strategies for Youth. And then Ms. Debbie Hamilton, who's part of your SHAC, is a partner that's also involved with this project, and she may have some greater detail answers for some of the questions that we might have in a little bit. But wanted to provide a little bit of background. Let's see. Ms. Wheeler can't hear me, so I want to make sure that she can hear okay. All right, there we go. All right, so the Juvenile Justice Jeopardy program is an educational initiative developed by Strategies for Youth. So she's the game designer and can answer some questions about that design. It's a nonprofit organization dedicated to improving interactions between youth and law enforcement. It's modeled after Jeopardy, the game show we all know and love and try to win every time we see it, designed to engage youth between the ages of 12 and 18 in interactive ways so they understand the juvenile justice system, their legal rights, and consequences for certain behaviors when engaging with with the officers. Key features of the program include interactive learning, customized content developed using local municipalities, laws and ordinances, and community involvement through the Train the Trainer model. And we are lucky to have one of our trainers here for our community as well. The San Antonio Juvenile Justice Jeopardy program was introduced to San Antonio and funded in collaboration with the San Antonio Area Foundation African American Fund and the San Antonio Police Department Community Outreach Department. There is no cost to participate in this community experience. In 2023, the San Antonio Alumna Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority partnered with the San Antonio Police Department, Community Outreach, and the San Antonio Area Foundation African American Fund to serve as community ambassadors to present the Juvenile Justice Jeopardy program to middle and high school students in the San Antonio and surrounding area. To date, presentations have been made to churches, community youth groups, high school classes in Northside and Northeast ISD, and through advocacy by the San Antonio Police Department, the Northside ISD Safety Department also engaged in this learning as well. We did pilot last year around this time at Reagan High School, and we are seeking your consideration and support for extending the invitation beyond the pilot to others who may be interested. So with that, I'm going to open for Ms. Wheeler, and if there are any questions about the project.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Schaefer, for inviting me to participate in this conversation. And thank you to the committee for allowing me to appear virtually and for considering the Juvenile Justice Jeopardy program. As was stated, I'm the legal director at Strategies for Youth. I'm an attorney, and in my role here, I design and implement our Juvenile Justice Jeopardy program all across the country. So I will just give you a little bit more background on this particular project in San Antonio, and then I of course want to answer any questions or address any concerns the committee might have. But just to give you a little bit more context, whenever Strategies for Youth designs a juvenile justice jeopardy program and brings it to a community, we do it in consultation with that community. We always customize the program, not only to make sure that it's legally accurate for the jurisdiction it will be used in, but also to ensure that it's addressing issues that are relevant and relatable to young people in that community, so that ultimately it can be the most helpful program. So this San Antonio project was no different. Our two main partners were the San Antonio Area African American Community Fund, as well as the San Antonio Police Department, who jointly partnered to bring us in and consulted with us to design the program that is now being run in San Antonio. So all elements of the program were designed in consultation with those two main partners, as well as other community partners they invited into the conversation to give input, share their experiences with maybe what youth in the area needed the most support around when it came to interactions with law enforcement and the juvenile justice system. So not only did we listen to partners on the ground in the community, we also received local data from the San Antonio Police Department, highlighting the different issues that are prevalent in bringing young people into contact with law enforcement and the system. And out of all that conversation and that data, we designed the juvenile justice program for San Antonio that has been played now in these various locations, as was mentioned. Everything in the curriculum is, again, designed for San Antonio. The other thing I just want to mention is the materials that were distributed to you all in anticipation of this conversation. I just wanted to highlight that there's a thicker or a packet, or maybe a longer packet if you're viewing it in the e-version, that's titled JJJ in the Community, as a picture of the skyline. And it's the facilitator's curriculum. And I just wanted to highlight that that is designed to go into the hands of the adult facilitator who's in the room with young people, guiding the dialogues that this program is intended to solicit. So we consider the game board and the questions and multiple choice answers that are presented to young people as conversational prompts that then the trained game leader, game facilitator engages in a dialogue and an organic back and forth with young people based on what's coming up for them. And that packet, that JJJ in the community packet, is designed to be an aid for those facilitators. It does not go into the hands of young people. It is not for distribution to young people. And essentially it just lays out instructions for how to run the game. It highlights the questions and answers that will appear on the game board, as well as discussion points and prompts that facilitator may want to consider using to gin up conversation if folks in the classroom are shy, or to turn to in case the facilitator gets a question they're maybe not sure how to navigate. There might be some resources in that packet, including the laws and citations for those laws that some of the content we're drawing upon are actually derived from. So that's at their fingertips as well. With that, that's kind of an overview of what the program is, that this particular project is. I'm be happy to answer any questions or address any concerns. So thank you, Dr. Schaefer.
Thank you, Ms. Wheeler. Appreciate that. Any questions that we can answer for you or items to address?
The microphone's on the table. You'll need to use it because the way this is set up, the videos may not pick up the questions. The on button's on the bottom.
Got it. Thank you. Dr. Schaefer, I also
wanted to mention that this is a community version, I think that you've shared. There's an ISD version. Northside ISD has been using this for almost 2 years now. Christian, is that right? They developed the ISD version, and so in addition to some of the Bexar County and San Antonio information from the municipalities, they also incorporated some of their code of conduct. What they did was looked at their data and those items that generated the most infractions, then they built that into their school version as well. And so that's an option to do as well, in addition to the different ordinances and laws that are prevalent in Bexar County and San Antonio. So thank you.
Question.
Yes, ma'am.
So can you speak to the Reagan pilot? Like what age level, like, was it targeted a certain grade? Was it a certain class? How would this look for our whole district?
So at Reagan, it was piloted with the AVID and JROTC classes. And so they had 7 classes that experienced the game, parent permission to do so, and then engaged through the experience. And they had a pre and a post test for that. So that was the pilot. That was kind of a locally decided at the campus, which is the way that we would work with any campus. They would choose which population they would want to do this experience with. We really love the partnership aspect of working with a community partner who is trained to do this. But we would want to entertain that with each of the campuses that would be interested. So it's focused 12 to 18, so that could be any of our middle and high schools that would be interested. And they would define really how they would want to engage. If it would be through AVID, JROTC, it could be through a career exploration, but each campus has autonomy to decide how they might want to engage. Our goal is to help make sure that all the hurdles are cleared for them to say yes. So all they would need to do is engage with the parent permission form and can keep moving forward with the experience.
With the sections, I was looking at the game versions, would the sections then also be able to be modified or eliminated based on whatever school or decides to try to implement that? Because my concern is that where these I'll call it the different topics.
Yes, sir.
May or may not meet with the TEKS that we have to make sure that our programs are actually met. Because I know, for example, the sex and boundaries, that would fall to our Chase committee, and then some of the school of conduct or the safety would go with our safety, safe, healthy schools. Mm-hmm. So just trying to understand how that would be broken out.
That's a great question. So what we're focused on today is the community version. So that is the bigger facilitator packet. The additional packet that you have, there's one that's a little skinnier, and it has multiple versions that this game could be. There would be a cost associated with creating a new version. The community version, as it exists right now, is not a cost to us. We would work in partnership, and there would be no cost to us to use that version. However, Ms. Wheeler is here to listen and entertain the possibilities should there be edits necessary, and is willing to work with us to figure out how to make that happen should this committee decide there are edits that are needed in the experience.
Would each section need to be approved? I guess that's what I apologize. Would each section need to be approved by each group?
I'm not going to answer the question. I'm going to answer the question. So I would think that from our standpoint within the SHAC, that we would want to review each section within whatever of the standing committee's realms that it would pertain to, in order to then make that recommendation to the Board of Trustees, and then allow them to then make the final decision. But yes, I would anticipate that.
So there are several different ways in which to engage with the community version. The TEKS that are taught in the classroom, so this would be a value add. So this does not replace TEKS in the classroom. This is an added value to the experience for students. So all the TEKS are already defined, curriculum's already laid out, the YAGs are already out there, everybody's getting that. But this would add an extra layer of support for our students to experience. So if, let's just pretend that it was a health class that a campus wanted to do this experience through, the TEKS are already being taught. This is a value add to those TEKS. So it wouldn't replace instruction, it would add to instruction from our perspective. Dr. Hamilton, do you have other thoughts about that?
Yes, that's exactly correct. If you do the,
Ms. Wheeler wants to hear you too.
That's correct. If you do the ISD version, then of course it would need to go through that, right? But for the community version, it's set and it's a value added. Would be happy if any of you are interested to run a mock session for you. I facilitated the sessions at Reagan last year. We did all 7 periods of an AVID class, of the AVID sections, and then we came back on another day and did 4 sections of the JROTC for their leaders in that particular thing. So if any of you are interested, be happy to run a mock session for you.
So I think I'm just wrapping my head around the ask. So the ask is that you're presenting something that is already happening as a pilot in our district with a certain platform called the community platform, which is of no cost to our district.
Correct.
That we're working off models with like textbooks and things like that. That's where our brain goes. So what I'm hearing is we don't have to worry about that because those TEKS are already being met. This is an added value to the classroom that then a student has to opt into.
Correct. A parent and student would have to opt into.
Right,
Yes, ma'am.
right.
Yes.
So your ask today is if we like this program and we want it to be offered to other campuses.
Yes, that's it.
If we recommend that move.
Yes.
Which then it would go to the board for their decision.
Really, they don't have a decision point on this.
Oh,
We
okay.
would just report back to say that this committee approves of us moving forward with offering the invitation to others. Right now, we have a pilot experience for a limited number of students at one high school. It went very well. The pre and post came out in a way that students' belief change was evident from the data that Dr. Hamilton shared. And so this could be a great opportunity for other students. We wanted to run it through a community-focused group to say this is something that we should add value to experience and education with students. That way we can offer the invitation beyond the one pilot school. That is the goal today. I hope that's a little clearer. Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, that's okay. Okay, kind of a dual part question. So out of those that you, in those 2 different programs that you piloted, how many parents and or children opted out?
Ooh, good question. Dr. Hamilton has that data.
So that's the one part of my question.
Great
Okay,
question.
so we had 100% participation. What was very interesting is that there are students who had not returned their permission slip, and so we do not allow them to stay in the classroom doing the presentation. So the instructor had provided an alternate. They did not want to leave, and so we were literally talking to parents, and they were giving approval. The counselor came in, spoke to parents, and so got the approval. So we had 100%. Whether they forgot and the parent got on the AVID classes. On the JROTC, 2 kids could not reach their parents at the time, and so they had to go to another session. But what we do is there is a pre-test, and it basically asks them questions about what they're going to learn and do they know, right? Do they know at what age? Different things are legal or illegal. So that's the pre-test. We do that when they come in, and then they go through the Jeopardy game, and then they do a post-test. And so it is literally measuring, did they learn? Did they feel like they learned anything in the process? So we did not have any parent pushback.
Okay, so that's really good to hear. My second part of that question is, what is in this program that requires it to have permission? Because sometimes my daughter brings home permission slips, and I'm like, I have no idea why I'm signing, and I just feel like we're over covering sometimes, but maybe I'm missing something and I'm just going, yes, you can do this.
I would say philosophically as a district, we have complete and utter respect for parents' wishes for their children's educational experience. So at a minimum, that's just who we are as a district. So we want to ensure parents have weighed in on whether or not they want their student to participate. That's true every day. So no matter what class students are in, they have the opportunity, parents have the opportunity to opt students out of activities, textbooks, things that they choose for their student to not experience in the classroom. So that's true every day. We just are extending that to this experience as well to make sure that parents are supportive of their student experience in the way that they want that to be experienced through this game. So just like, it's like any other day at school that they have to say yes for
There's
student
nothing
experience.
above and beyond, and I'll give a reference like sex ed class where she comes home and I'm like, okay, let's kind of refresh of what you talked about to make sure. I always want her to come to me, come to someone that's safe, versus going to her friends, because that's just a disaster. But there's nothing above and beyond things that maybe as a parent that I need to be like re-emphasizing, I guess.
I think since you're focused on the specific piece related to sex, I'm going to let Ms. Wheeler talk about, there's a consent to sex law age that they will address. And so I'll let her talk about that just a little bit so you get a better sense of that. Ms. Wheeler is also sensitive to this group. And if this group believes that that item comes out of jeopardy, then we as a committee recommend to remove it. If we are happy with it the way that it's laid out, then we'll move forward with that education. But I'll let Ms. Wheeler address that piece about consent to sex.
Yes, absolutely. So this comes up once during the game. It's during this icebreaker activity, and you'll see it in that JJJ in the community packet in one of the first few pages there. It's kind of a worksheet that says, at what age can you? And it covers a wide variety of activities, behaviors that young people might be thinking about, but have a certain age limit attached to it under the law. One of those things is the age of consent. So that does come up in the icebreaker activity, just clearing up for young people that the law does have a perspective, and it says it's actually against the law for someone to have sex with someone who is under that age. So that's when the age of consent comes up. I'll just flag that there is one other moment where we border on something like this during the game, and that's during a question that highlights to young people that there's also laws related to sending texts or DMs or social media posts that might involve displaying of a young person's private areas, right? So we call that child sexual abuse material now, and just notifying young people that if they are taking photos like that, sending photos like that, sharing photos or videos like that, that there is a law that says that's illegal. You know, you can't do that if the person is under the age of 18. So that comes up as well in the game, and really the intent of both those questions is just to notify young people. You might be having lots of other conversations in your health class, in your homes, but the law also has a perspective on this, and just to notify them what the law says, that there are these age cutoffs when it comes to both those types of risky behaviors. And I believe, just to Dr. Schaefer's point about kind of carving those things out of the game, as I mentioned, you know, customization is no problem for strategies for youth. We always want our community partners to be comfortable with what they're presenting to their young people, and that's why we go to them first in the development process, because we want them to guide the way towards what they think is appropriate or where the emphasis should be on their educational program. So this was designed in consultation with those primary partners I mentioned, but we certainly want to have the wide majority of this education be available to young people in San Antonio. So if simply blocking out that one aspect of the at what age worksheet would make the rest of this material able to be presented to young people, that's something we would want to work with you to do by just redrafting that worksheet, cutting that off if that was the problem, or if the child sexual abuse material question was an issue, adjusting that one question perhaps so that we could just make sure the rest of the game could be experienced by young people. So we're ready, willing, and able to partner on those types of small tweaks for this particular project.
From a parent perspective, I would ask us to really consider doing one of our kids not to know that information. Because in the San Antonio version was based upon those things that
Dr. Hamilton's grabbing the mic.
It's been so informal the 2 years I've been here, so I'm sorry about that.
I apologize.
So from a parent's perspective, I would think as a parent, I would want my kid to know what the law says about different things. And the content of the game was informed with SAPD and Bexar County about what are those infractions that have kids introduced to the criminal justice system at a young age. And so based on the prevalence of those incidents, that's what really helped to inform, right? If it's something that's not happening in our community, then we did not include it in the content. But those things that bring kids to have that interaction with law enforcement is what inform. So I would think as parents, we would want our kids to know, right, this is what the law says about this particular behavior.
So who would teach this, and would it be in a certain classroom? Because again, I being a former member of the Chase Committee and going through the sex education curriculum for the last 18 dozen years, whatever it's been, obviously it's a sensitive topic for me. And so I would prefer that some of the questions that may be asked through this program, which are great questions, but is covered within the sex education portion by the health teachers that's presenting that. I love the fact that the law aspect of did you realize that this is actually against the law, and making sure that our kids, I love that. I think that's a fantastic deal. I just didn't know, like I said, who's the trainer, the teacher, and then in what classroom portion or what class is actually where that's being taught.
Great question. So Ms. Wheeler is actually the training facilitator to develop ambassadors, and Dr. Hamilton is one of those facilitators. So they go through in-depth training with Ms. Wheeler. You want to talk just a little bit about that training, Ms. Wheeler, so that Mr. Kamen can hear a little bit about what that entails. So it wouldn't be a classroom teacher necessarily. It's a trained facilitator.
Yes, absolutely. So we run our program on a train the trainer model with the understanding that I am not the most credible messenger in your community because I'm not from your community, and I want to make sure the most credible messengers are the ones delivering these important messages. So that's why we work with community partners, and I believe it was in 2023 when we launched this program, and a bunch of folks from the community who were interested in leading this program and the conversations that snowball off of it came together for a pilot game where they watched myself run a version of this with students just so they could see it in action and how it actually works in practice. And then we did a training together where I emphasized the reasoning behind the approach to certain topics, the logistics of the actual program and moving them through that. And we did some kind of mock scenarios with what if this happens in the classroom, how can you pivot, what's your focus, those types of scenarios where we went through that with our facilitators that we were training. And now after we train, then they are the ambassadors, as was said, to go out into the community and bring this to their community partners. And that's what we're doing here today, is to see if it might be a good fit for y'all to come together on this. And if it's helpful, again, I think our perspective is the community always knows best about where this should fit or if it does fit anywhere. But if it is helpful for folks, we work nationally, so we do this in 27 other states besides Texas, including some other communities in Texas. And I have a wide variety of experiences with how different schools have implemented this. And the health classes have been a very successful way to do this in other communities. Again, I don't know if that's right for you all, but it can be very helpful if there is kind of a co-facilitator. So perhaps if it was in a health classroom, having that health teacher on standby in case a topic did come up that felt it was more appropriate for that health teacher to step in on. Or if that co-facilitator wasn't there, that the trained facilitator knows, okay, these are my boundaries and this isn't a discussion I'm equipped to have. But let's talk about who the trusted adult in your life is that maybe you want to bring a question like that too. So that's just one piece of food for thought. But I think your experiences through Dr. Hamilton maybe would shed better light on how exactly that would take place in practice.
Does that get at it, Mr. Kamen?
Yes, that was a great, that was great, because, yeah, like I said, I really, I think that there's a lot of aspects in it that I think are probably really required or should be presented to our students so that they can be as informed as possible. And then there's other aspects I would prefer to stick with what we've reviewed for years from the TEAC standpoint, and make sure that, even utilize maybe some of the questions from here within their program that's already been established. And so, like I said, Katie would be a great example of, saying, yeah, I could utilize this as additional information within the presentation for the classroom for whatever those 2 days or 3 days that they're being pulled out for.
Yeah, I was going to ask a clarifying question, if you don't mind. Is this like a one-day game show kind of extra content, or is this a multiple facilitated project?
It's a one session per class. It's not ongoing.
Okay.
And to address your question in terms of the co-facilitator, when we were at Reagan for the day and a half, Michelle Tanner, a counselor, was a co-facilitator. When we've done this at Northside ISD, their entire public safety department are trained facilitators. And so when we were in those classrooms, it was someone from the DPS team on their campus as well as the facilitator. So it can be, the model is there, but it's definitely not a free period for the class, for the teacher. Let me just say that. So the teacher, we require the teacher to be
High-level
there.
accountability.
Right, so there's someone from the school in the class. We're not telling the teacher, oh, you have 7 periods to goof off. We expect that teacher to be in the classroom so that they can handle anything else. I'm a retired educator, spent 40 years in higher ed here in San Antonio and Houston, and the kids are really engaged in the session. I initially said the teacher had to stay in case there are any discipline issues, but I can honestly tell you that we've been doing this since 2023, we've not had any discipline issues. The kids are really, really engaged, and they're learning a lot because they don't think about things, especially when you start talking about texting and what you can get in trouble. They are so surprised to know that they can be held liable for that. Even if they didn't take the video, they were given the video and then they shared it. And so there are a lot of those aha moments in that our kids really, really need.
Can I ask really quick? Just curious, what did Northside choose an avenue, like a standard avenue for all all campuses that used it?
Like same course?
Northside does not use the community version. Northside had an ISD version developed that has their code of conduct in addition to some of the laws and ordinance of San Antonio and Bexar County.
And the course of delivery, did they have a standard course that it was done in across the board?
So they have, and Christian and I can also text Bobby, who's the chair of the board, but they have delivered this across a lot of classes, so a lot of grades. So they've delivered this across 9th through 12th grade.
In multiple different courses?
In multiple
Okay, so is it like a campus decision?
It is a campus decision.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I would encourage us to think about that model as well
Yes.
as we do with any other options like this.
I'm just curious if you can speak to the data that y'all collected from the pilot. So I know you said it was successful, but what were some of those data points where you saw big change and knowledge gained, and maybe what some of those questions were?
Okay, and I'm gonna, Christian can also talk about this because she has data. I provided Dr. Schaefer and the team here at Northeast, I provided them the data, the pre and post data from the classes that we did, the ROTC and the AVID classes. So that is specific to here in terms of what the learning differential was. But for the game, we upload all of the pre and post tests. We upload all of those to Strategies for Youth. And so they are looking at that collectively. So, so she has a better perspective on it. But can you go back to that?
Yes, of course.
Yes, so this is the pre-test. So you can see, in my experience, you know, they're telling us this is their experience, and then what happens when. So we're finding out, what do they already know, right? And then they have what we call the intervention of playing the game, and the game takes about 45 minutes to do a session of the game. And then once they finish the game, we give them a similar survey called the post survey. And then so when we run their preconceptions against their post, then we can determine what the learning gains were from that particular session. Okay, so that's the methodology of it. But Kristen can speak to it because she has the data from every game that has been done. And again, as she indicated, Texas is just one of multiple states that are doing this, and San Antonio is one of many cities in Texas that are providing this to kids.
Kristen, do you mind sharing a little of that data from the Reagan pilot?
Yeah, and I actually, I'll go off book here if I can and share my screen. I have the data report up on my computer. Would that be possible?
Yes, go ahead and test it. I'm going to make sure they can see what you are showing. Yes, perfection.
Okay. All right, so this was the data report strategies for youth produced for the Deltas after their programming at Reagan. So you can see that we're tracking a few different, let me go up here to the top, a few different knowledge questions as well as experience questions. So we're asking young people, first and foremost, did you find the game fun? Do you wish you knew this information earlier? And here's where we're tracking that. So the vast majority, our Navy Blues, were saying, yes, they had fun. Yes, they wish they knew this information earlier. And we're also asking them over here in the pie chart about how much of what you learned today was new to you, just so we can try to make sure that we're introducing young people to information that is helpful and new rather than things they've already heard about that are not interesting to them anymore. So you can see that the vast majority, again, are saying that at least 50% of the information covered was new to them. And then we go down to some knowledge questions here where we're looking at different questions posed on those pre-program surveys and the post-program surveys, tracking a difference in correct answer choices. So helping young people understand that they are vulnerable to the adult court system even when they are minors under the age of 18. So this is just an example. Before they played this game with the Deltas, 31 young people got that wrong. There's that one young person who got it wrong after the program, but of course we're okay with changing the dial even just a little bit, making a difference for young people. That's a pretty good hit rate for our Deltas. And here's that question about age of consent that comes up in the game. And again, we're just asking a basic question. Do you have to be a certain age to legally have sex? And we saw a kind of similar incorrect response rate and similar correct response rate after the program was completed.
Hey, Kristen?
And you'll see, again, some...
Kristen, Mr. Kamen has a question.
I'm sorry, can you go back to that, Kristen? So I see there were 94 people that were asked the question, and only 55 responded the second time. What happened to the rest? Did they fall asleep, or did they?
That's a great question. I wasn't on the ground, but in my experience when I play this game, just logistically what ends up happening is there's a lot of chaos at the end of the classroom, at the end of the class, and so young people are kind of out the door and you're trying to get them to fill out this survey. So we're exploring moving to e-surveys, which can facilitate this a little bit better with getting young people to finish their surveys before leaving the classroom.
Okay.
Putting less of a burden on our ambassadors to have to distribute these on paper and collect them and scan them back to us. So we're hoping to move to that model to try to alleviate some of these discrepancies we do see with posts in particular. So yeah, very astute, and it's not a surprise that we would have a lower number of posts than pre's. And Dr. Hamilton, please feel free to jump in if that describes it incorrectly.
She's nodding.
Yeah, I was going to say, they were in a hurry to get to lunch, and so they didn't finish the questions. Okay, thank you.
Yes, absolutely. And so just to finish up, there's a few more knowledge-based questions. All we need to see is those light blues going down and those navy blues going up to see that we've made a difference for young people learning. So we also collect a bit of demographics. People are interested in male, female, age, race, ethnicity, and we ask young people where else they could have learned this information and who else they think should play it. and get some of those responses as well through this data. And if it's helpful, I'll just share that we recently moved to an e-survey model with our SAPD group and produced this report for them through our e-version, showing the SAPD knowledge gained specifically around police interaction questions, where we saw 34% increase, almost 32% increase in these two questions that are getting to why do law enforcement officers pat down folks? What's the reasoning behind that? And can a male officer pat down a young woman, to try to clarify the rules of this for young people so they feel a little bit more assured of what to expect in an encounter with law enforcement, so we don't see unnecessary escalations when there's just simple misunderstanding about what to expect or what their obligations are, as well as rights in an interaction with law enforcement.
Are there other questions?
Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you so much. We appreciate the presentation. Thank you for your time. This is great information to have.
Thank you so much. We appreciate your encouragement and support. And so we'll report back here, and then I'll report back there about this conversation. So thank you. Appreciate
Awesome.
you all.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Take care.
All right. Before we move on, so does anybody have any questions or thoughts? Do we want to continue to review the information and maybe, I guess, get some more information before we actually vote on whether we implement this? Any thoughts?
Well, to me, the ask was to decide if we wanted to, it was a little fuzzy, but it's a decision on if we recommend the pilot expanding. Right? Was that kind of what everyone else kind of understood? Okay. So I guess it would be if anyone wants to make a motion on this topic, and then it would be open for discussion and possible action.
I move to move this forward and
Okay.
expand
The program. And do we have a second? Is that how this works? I'm like, help me out, y'all.
Yep.
Okay, sorry. Tell me your names.
I'm Ann Karen.
Okay. Thank you.
So now it would be
And
open
then who
to
seconded?
discussion.
I second. Alyssa Penny.
Thank you.
All right, Tony. So now we're open for discussion? Okay.
Yeah.
We are open for discussion.
Yes, ma'am. On that.
I was wondering if it gets tailored.
Microphone, please.
I was wondering. Is it on? Okay. I was wondering what the cost is if it's edited for the district versus the free version.
I can answer that for you, Ms. Wheeler. So it's $25,000 to create a new version of the game. It's $0 to make minor edits to use as is as you've seen it in the community.
Easy choice.
In my opinion on this is it seems like great information and engaging way to, in my opinion, this sounds like great information for students to have, and it seems like an engaging way.
How about now? Oh, I like it. Okay, so in my opinion, that this is a great way to get this information to students, and it's good information to have. Some of those answers, I didn't know the actual answer to the question, and knowledge is great. So I don't see any downsides because this is a free program, and if it's very successful, hopefully it will be. We might want to move to that tailored version like Northside, but I don't see a downside on this.
I think I'd like to piggyback just to remind everybody, because I know we had a lot of information coming up, is that I also support the free version, but it also seems like with opt-in solutions that helps. And it also seems like what I'm learning from looking at the information is that we're not diving into consent and topics, we're diving into the law. And so I think that was very helpful to distinguish that we're not here to talk about things in a very detailed way. We're just here to say, this is the word we're talking about, and this is how the law pertains to it, and did you know this? And so that was a bigger distinction that I heard through our conversation that was helpful for our community to know. So just keep those in mind. Free, consent, opt-in, and we're talking about the law, which if you have a teenager, it's like, yes, please.
I would say, just as a caution to like saying campuses have the choice, right? Which classes do they want to go in? I would caution a campus at that point if we move forward to use it in a health class, because there are so many other red laws that have nothing to do with outside programs necessarily, but topics. And so you don't want to, I caution going too close to a gray line in some of those laws. To where if we give campuses a choice, that is great. I think they should be able to choose what classes, but I would caution campuses using it in a health class, because that there's, again, the information, I would never argue the information. It is great having kids have this information. Maybe more courses that may touch many more children throughout the year, right? That'll get this information. But that health class does have a lot of other outside Texas laws beyond just programs and just content that's taught specifically within that course itself.
Yeah, like I said, my only concern is, and I didn't know if from the standpoint of the edited version, which we would have to pay for, versus the free community version, if that free community version could also then maybe strike through a couple of the questions that I think would be better suited for the health class with regards to when sex is acceptable or is and just anything dealing with sex education would stay within the health curriculum class. That we spent a lot of time.
It's not when it's acceptable. It's when is it legal.
Legal. Okay, I'm sorry. So yeah, I thought that there was another one that said when is. I thought there was another question. Sorry. As long again, yeah, wanted to make sure that it's all based off of the TEKS and the law from standpoint.
Okay, so my other question would be, in the edited version, is it a longer version? Is there more questions? Is there more detail into the law? What's the difference between the free version and the edited version?
Would you like me to answer that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so there's really the community version that Ms. Wheeler is willing to edit if this group believes that things should be edited, and there is developing one from scratch. So a district-based one on our code of conduct would be one that would be developed from scratch. We're hyper-focused on the community experience, I think because of the partnership element that it brings to our kids and to our families.
I think I would want to maybe echo the idea that rather than edit the community version that has been, based on research and data and figuring out all the most important pieces to include for young people, I would say we use that version rather than edit out pieces of it, because I don't know what we would do then with the efficacy of it and not being able to stay with kind of the data that is showing up as a result of using the actual complete program.
What is the feasibility for expansion? So obviously you came in and did all of these classes, and we're talking about a larger, Okay, so like there's a plan for training other people to help, or like what does that look like?
Good, that's a good question. So I led the team that did it, and then we trained Ms. Tanner because she was a counselor that facilitated, so she was a trained facilitator as well. So there are 6 community groups across the city that have trained presenters. So from we did it under my sorority umbrella, Delta Sigma Theta sorority. And we have a membership of 365, but we have 52 facilitators that most of which are like me, retired educators that can come in. So we went to the different schools in Northeast, I did, and the counselors, the AVID teachers were very nervous about presenting this. And so then in May of last year, I presented this program to your Board of Trustees. And so that's how it started. But we have 52 trained facilitators. SAPD, Joel Pope from the Community Engagement Division also is at the board meeting, and they also have additional trained facilitators in SAPD. We have a set there, I think there's 6 or 7, but it's different facets. There's a midnight basketball league in San Antonio that plays across the city. They also have trained facilitators, and that's another audience that we reach, do outreach. There's a Fiesta event going on Saturday at Trinity University, and I have a team of 7 that are presenting they're running 2 concurrent sessions at that Fiesta event as well.
You have a microphone?
So do we have a vote? I mean, a motion? Oh, a question, excuse me. Do we have any more
Sure.
questions? Okay. So I'd like to make a motion that the SHAC recommends campus, I'm just gonna, y'all say if you want to word it differently, campus expansion of the Juvenile Justice Project. Do y'all like that wording?
Okay.
Did
Okay.
I jump on you?
I don't know. I was going to say, so we already had a motion.
Oh, sorry.
So do you want to make a friendly amendment?
Well, we gotta make, what did the motion say?
To recommend expansion of the juvenile justice jeopardy community initiative to other communities.
I said it twice? Well, I second that motion. How about
So
that?
it's already been seconded.
Oh, dang it. What do we do now? Let's vote.
Okay, so so there's a motion that's been made and it's been seconded, and we've discussed it.
Yep. This is why it's the vice right there. Y'all.
All right. So at this point, we want to go ahead and have a vote.
Okay.
All right.
All right, so the motion is expand JJJ community program,
Of the community initiative to other.
And it's we're going to say for the community version.
expand, it's not projecting, but you'll see it when you get the Mentimeter, it says expand Triple J community initiative to other campuses.
Okay.
Is what you'll see when you vote, is that correct?
Right.
Okay, so Candace?
Yes, ma'am. Doctor.
Can I offer an amendment to that, specifically for middle school and high school, because this would not be relevant for elementary.
Ooh,
schools.
yes.
And we only presented at Reagan, so I'd like to clarify middle school and high school.
All right. Ann, will you accept that friendly amendment? All right. So we're going to make the friendly amendment for it to be limited to middle school and high school.
Expand Triple J community initiative to other MS and HS campuses. There's a word limit on the.
Sure.
In the text box. Is that vote?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, would you ask somebody to-
All right. Let's see. I was trying to remember the way it said is, when do you recognize the correct date?
Not a morals conversation.
I know, I understand. Well, that's, again.
there were 7 of the top 4. Or 8 with one of I'm just kidding. You have to go, but it's totally fine. It's fine. Yeah, I'm doing our little report. It's okay. You got this, right?
Okay, now that everybody's got their vote, if you'll go ahead and cast your vote. Does anybody need any more time to vote? All right, all the votes are in.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
In the matter of expand Triple J Community Initiative to other middle school and high school campuses, 19 votes cast. Majority for election is 10. Those in favor say aye, 18. Those opposed say no, 1.
All right, on the motion to expand the JJJ Community Initiative to other middle school and high school campuses, there were 19 votes. Those in favor were 18. Those opposed are opposed 1. So the motion has been approved. There were 2 abstains. That makes it 21. Thank you. Moving on real quick, we'll go ahead and we need to approve the March 25th, 2026 minutes. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
I make a motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Second, all right. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it. Okay. Let's see here. Next on the agenda, I know because of time, we're going to go ahead and push the updates on the standing committees, if that's okay.
I need to give mine.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So it'll be very quick. And I am only saying Classroom Health and Sex Ed is going to give theirs because I am asking it to be read into the minutes, please.
Okay.
But I also just wanted to put this out here because I know a lot of you have been in the room for a lot of the time that we, back in the 22-23 school year, which seems like a decade ago, we adopted the Choosing the Best program for our human sexuality and abstinence education program. So it was adopted in 22-23 and implemented in 23-24. Since that time, since fall 2023 to last fall 2025, we have collected over, we have put in front of students over 35,000 students, right? So 35,000 students have received permission slips into our program. Just over 31,000 have returned those permission slips to us. which basically makes our return rate pretty close to 90%, which is great. But also what looks really, really wonderful is that our opt-in percentage, meaning of these 89 and 88% students that have returned their permission slips to our program, 96% of those students have at least or opted into our human sexuality and abstinence education lessons, and 94 have opted into our abuse prevention lessons. So I wanted to put that in front of you so that you saw this, that you could see this is the work that our Chase Committee has been doing countless hours worth of work on. But I do want to point out that when we started in 23-24, we in the fall only had a high school program, and in the spring only had 6th and 7th grade programs. The 24-25 school year, we had a high school program, a 6th grade program, and 7th and 8th were actually doing the same combined lessons. So what that means is the 8th graders the 7th graders in 23-24, in the 24-25 school year, we're a part of the same program for 8th grade. But this year, 25-26, this is our first year of all 4 programs. So students enrolled in 6th grade health, 7th and 8th grade PE and athletics, and high school health, all are taking 4 different programs. So they have the opportunity 4 different times throughout their schooling, starting in 6th grade, to receive these really, the messages of choosing the best that was adopted, and that's amazing. So what this means is the 26-27 school year next year is the last of our first agreement with choosing the best. When we adopted choosing the best in 22-23, we only adopted for 4 years because the idea was to see where is this program going. So our 4 years is done next school year. So what does that mean? That means that the Chase Committee will be coming back to the SHAC next year in the 26-27 school year with a recommendation to either continue with the Choosing the Best program and then to also have the complete collected data from 25-26. I do want to point out just one of the biggest things because we did a 4-year program or a 4-year adoption to kind of see where does this land with other programs that we've had. Our previous programs, our percent return rate was 84%, and of that 84%, 96 was our opt-in rate. So that looks very similar. It can't be compared apples to apples because the opt-in was very different. Now parents can opt in lesson by lesson. I can choose lesson 1, 2, 3, not 4, 5, 6, and 7. Whereas before it was, I'm opting into all, I'm opting into none. So it's a different type of opt-in, but that opt-in percentage stayed about the same. So I wanted to get this in front of you because I know a lot of you have been here since we've started doing this, and this is all we've been talking about. But this is where it is. So thank you so much.
Great. Thank you very much for that. All right. Last item on the agenda is the announcement for SHAC officers, positions available, and then the tentative first SHAC meeting for the fall of 2026. So as you know, I'm going to be stepping down. My baby girl is graduating here in 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and so I will be no longer eligible for SHAC as a parent. So I'm going to be leaving y'all. I appreciate everybody's support. So there will be a chairperson and a secretary position available, as well as for the 2026-2027 school year. Because Bonnie will be also
I mean, I'll be here,
second.
but I would have to run again. You would have to elect
So
me.
she'll be coming back as a second year member, but her 2 years as the secretary will be open. So you can renominate her if you'd like, or you can nominate yourself or someone else if you'd like. So just know that that's available.
On that note, Tony, we did get you a small token of appreciation because you have led the SHAC through many tumultuous ups and downs, and your leadership has been admirable and appreciated. So we did get you just a little something.
Oh, thank you very much.
Tony can still come back as a community member. He just can't be the chair anymore, but he could still be here with us.
Maybe I'll just come back and just to be a presence. Okay, with that, the tentative first SHAC meeting for 2026-2027 is going to be on September 16th, 2026, 2:15. Lunch starts at 11:45. And with that, it is 1:46. And I call the meeting of the SHAC adjourned. Thank you very much for everybody sticking around. And again, thank you for your support and your dedication to the Northeast ISD and to the students. Thank you so much.